Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Guardians on Deck with Cleveland Baseball Insider. I'm Brendan Gulick. This is our second show of the year, and if you didn't catch yesterday's show, we're going to try to talk to you every day throughout the course of the year to give you the latest updates on what's going on with the team. That will include looking back at what happened in the previous game, certainly looking forward to the next game, and any other storylines surrounding the ball club. Yesterday, of course, the opener, and we had a trade last night. So we still have some things to talk about today, even though the team is off today in Kansas City for the continue the road trip with 3 more against the Royals and 2 more against Cincinnati. The team will be home 1 week from today for their home opener against the San Francisco Giants. You can follow us, CBI on SI, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We would certainly appreciate your support there. I think we've got some fun graphics for you that you might enjoy over there. And we'll certainly share the latest information as it breaks on those channels. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit the notification bell so that you'll be able to catch all of our episodes of this show throughout the course of the year. Let's take a look back at what happened yesterday, a 3-1 loss, and a frustrating one at that, because this is a Guardians team that certainly pitched its way well enough yesterday to win the game. At the end of the day, I mean, look, the Royals came up with a clutch hit, and it was their hot, young, top prospect, Bobby Witt Jr., who is widely regarded as one of the top prospects in all of Major League Baseball. It's pretty cool, actually, to kind of hear the entire crowd at Kauffman Stadium chanting, "Bobby, Bobby." Clearly a highly anticipated debut, and he delivered, right? Got his first Major League hit, and it counted in a big way because he brought home the go-ahead run in the 8th inning and then scored when Nicky Lopez was able to drive him home just a little bit later there in the 8th. Guardians had a frustrating day offensively because they had some chances, and every time they seemed to get in scoring position, with the exception of Jose Ramirez driving in an RBI double early in the game, the Guardians just couldn't come up with a clutch hit. And in a lot of ways, it kind of feels like what the team was dealing with last year. They pitched their way generally well enough to win, and they played generally good enough defense last year, and we'll talk about that more in a minute. But yesterday was a tough way to open the season, and I think a lot of it had to do with some poor weather, right? It was awfully cold, and it was extremely windy, and I don't think that's a great excuse, but it is reality. I mean, both teams certainly had to play under those conditions. But I think the Guardians got exposed a little bit with Ahmed Rosario playing out in left field, who admittedly has gotten substantially better in the last 12 months in playing in left field, but he's still not a left fielder by trade, and he had a really tough play that he couldn't make a catch. I was surprised it was ruled a double and not an error, but everybody that was at the game seems to say that, no, it was that windy. It was not a routine play. Okay. And then obviously with both Rosario and Miles Straw not able to get to the ball in the gap that brought home the run, frustrating there too. So not a great defensive day. Obviously a tough booted ground ball by Bobby Bradley earlier on. That one didn't cost the Guardians, able to come back and get out of that inning cleanly. And to their credit, did have a couple of really good defensive plays. Austin Hedges looked outstanding, fielding the bunt and throwing out a runner at second base, and then catching a guy stealing. I think it was Hunter Dozier that was thrown out at second base on that caught stealing. And when Mercado came in the game in left field, he made a great charging sliding catch after a full out sprint. So it's not like the defense was horrendous. They had some good moments. But man, some of those mistakes can be really costly. And I think this team this year, if they're going to win a bunch of games, they've got to play clean defense. They've got to get good pitching, because it just doesn't seem like the kind of lineup that's going to hit the ball, out of the ballpark repeatedly. They've got a few guys that are, proven long ball hitters, but most of them, I think they're going to have to play some small ball and run the bases well if they're going to win. And that's okay, but it puts a little bit of pressure on some of the other parts of the game. If you didn't hear it yesterday, here's Terry Francona post-game talk with the media for a couple minutes. Starts out by kind of talking about the weather, and then he addressed Tristan McKenzie's pitching performance as well.
Talk about the weather, and we talked to Ahmed just about the wind, and it didn't seem like the ball's going towards the line for tough, but going into that gap were a problem.
I mean, we have a really good view of it. You could just see it going. That's a tough spot. I feel bad. our job is to put guys in a position where they can succeed. I feel like I missed that with him. Like, he's a good kid. I mean, he'll be fine. I just, I told Beebs, I said, Beebs, that one was on me and that's how I felt.
Mm-hmm.
The first two innings I thought he was really good. The last inning I thought he was starting to, his stuff backed up a teeny bit, and it also his command. We were kind of locked into where, we did this by design today, and we needed to let him keep pitching. It didn't work out the way we wanted it to.
Greinke doesn't throw 96 anymore, but it seems like he's still.
Well, he certainly knows how. Actually, thought we had a pretty good approach. We stayed up the middle for the most part. I mean, the play the second baseman makes on a match, probably a game saver. Ahmed also hit the ball, the Greinke fielded. So again, he knows how to pitch, but I thought we had a decent approach.
2 walks and a single for Plum. Is that kind of like sort of game you can envision?
Yes, I thought he handled himself extremely well, and I think there's better days ahead for him too. Zach, you don't have to wear that out here. Mandy, you do.
Do you envision using Shaw that way, kind of, like a?
That was today. Brian knew we didn't want to go straight to Tristan, so Brian knew earlier. No, that's a little early for him, but because we're trying to bridge it to Tristan, we thought Brian's one guy that could probably handle that.
It's about wins and losses, but just to get Barlow to throw that many pitches in those last 2 innings and have a chance.
Reggie took a couple of good swings too. Yeah, I mean, you're right. It is about wins, losses, but we made a couple mistakes, but we played hard, and we'll come back again. Not tomorrow, but the next day, and see if we can do a little better.
You get like 3 of the 4 seasons out there, except summer.
Not in the dugout. It was winter for the whole time. It was cold. I didn't have one. Somebody did. I stepped off that chair once, and I thought an electric bolt hit my toe. I was like, God, I know it's like hit by lightning.
Chen today, how did he do today?
He didn't have any hits. I'm not sure. You the guy that wanted to talk to me half hour before the game?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was. He had a tough day. He'll be okay. He's a good player.
I love Tito. Glad he's back in the dugout, and it's pretty clear that he's happy to be back. Maybe some of it's just opening day, and there's this lightness and levity to, hey, we're back and these games count, and let's get after it. Maybe the tone changes throughout the course of the season. I don't know, but it is so good to have him back and have his presence back in the dugout, and you get the impression the clubhouse certainly feels like they are happy to have him back. Kind of what you'd expect to hear from him, right? Shane Bieber looked good. The weather was kind of lousy. Tristan McKenzie, he thought, had a couple of good innings, and then maybe started to lose it a little bit there in the last inning, but it was a tough situation for him because they decided going into the game they wanted to piggyback him. Beyond that, it's one ball game. It's easy to overreact in the month of April because you want to get off on such a great start. You don't want to dig yourself a hole that you can't get out of. It's pretty hard to win the division in April. It's a lot easier to lose it in April. So I think you want to try to not ride that roller coaster too hard early in the season. And obviously Tito was not overly upset with, a tough luck situation yesterday in losing the first game of the year. I think on the plus side, though, Shane Bieber looked really good. And, this is a guy the Guardians need to have, perform like an ace. This is absolutely the strength of the team coming into the year. Bieber, Plesac, Quantrill, Savali, and McKenzie. Those 5 are going to be your starting 5, barring an injury. I would think it's going to stay that way all year. And for a team that is trying to figure out a lot of things, their core for the last 20 years has been developing good starting pitching. And guys that have come up through the minor league system ready to go when they get opportunities in the big leagues. And to their credit, it seems to be a formula that a lot of other teams haven't been able to figure out. And it's one that's kept the Guardians competitive even when they don't have superstar talent all the way around. So, look, if the Guardians are going to do what they want to do, and at every point of the season, maybe you readjust your goals a little bit if things are changing. But when you come into the season, you're playing because you want to win, right? They're not hoping to make the playoffs. They're trying to win a world championship. And I know that might sound outrageous because there are pieces around this team that are not proven, but nobody plays without the intention of trying to be the last team standing. And if the Guardians are going to do that, they've got to lean on starting pitching. I don't know if they're good enough to get that done this year. We're going to find out. A lot of young, unproven talent that I think we're fairly hopeful about. But without a sliver of a doubt in my mind, if the Guardians are going to have that kind of a team this year, they've got to have somebody like Shane Bieber really leading the way and out on the mound every 5 days, knowing, hey, we got a really good chance to win today because we've got this cat, taking the ball. And Bieber looked good. It obviously missed substantial time last year. I know we came back at the end of the year and, pitched a couple of 3-inning outings just to kind of get back at it before shutting it down. But he made it clear in spring training and leading up to this game that he was healthy, that he felt good. He talked last night briefly about his pregame warmup, and he said he pretty much felt like he needed to feel. He had command. He had good velocity. He wasn't going to get too upset about maybe his fastball not being exactly where it wanted to be because he was pitching in ridiculously cold, windy weather. At one point in the pregame when he was warming up, he said it was some combination of raining and sleeting. It reminded him of what happened last year in Detroit. So not going to overreact to that. But the good news is Bieber looked good. I thought his numbers were good. He gave up 2 base hits that I think most days are not going to be base hits. Finished the day 4 2/3 innings, 1 run technically earned on 3 hits, even though it probably could have and should have been caught. No walks, 4 strikeouts. He worked ahead of hitters, 72 pitches without the errors. Maybe he gets through 5 innings and has a chance to win. Instead takes a no decision. But good news, Shane Bieber looked like what you want him to look like there on opening day. But it comes back to the same frustrating storyline of, look, is this the start of, that same gut feeling in your stomach telling you same story, different season, where, a good pitching outing is wasted. I don't want to go too far down that path yet because Bieber only threw 4 2/3 innings. I think I would feel more more in line with that storyline if Bieber threw 7 innings. But the fact that he was on a pitch count and you knew he wasn't going to give you, anything close to a complete game just because of the condensed spring training, I'm not too worried about, that quite yet. But you can't ignore having an offensive day that wasn't great, making a couple of costly mistakes defensively, and not being able to come up with a clutch base hit. Sounds a lot like the 2021 team, which, at times was fun to watch. And, they were a 500 club, they 80 and 82 last year. It's not like they were brutal, but it's agonizing at times when you just can't seem to come up with that clutch hit. So we'll keep our eye on that as the year goes along. But I think that's an unavoidable thought that kind of sits in the core of your stomach. So that kind of wraps up game 1 of the season. And we thought maybe, hey, early day, no problem, not going to be a late night covering the team. And then bang, news breaks roughly an hour after the game is over that Bradley Zimmer's days in Cleveland are over. And I think there was some mixed reaction on social media to this news. A guy that, was drafted out of high school, chose to go to college, and the Guardians picked him in the first round of 2014 with the thought that he would be the center fielder of the future. There's a lot of traits there, raw baseball traits that you love. And it didn't translate. For whatever reason, it wasn't consistently there enough. He's still got incredible speed, especially for his size. He's a great base runner. I like the way he plays defense. I know some people are a little up in the air on that, but I like the way he plays defense. And, he's got the kind of power that really opens your eyes. And I remember seeing that back in 2014. I was, at the time, I was working in the Red system. I was broadcasting for Dayton, and the Dragons were playing at the Captains. It was in September, and Zimmer had gotten, placed on the Captains roster, first year pro. And in a game, and I don't know if you've been to Lake County or not, but in a game, he hit 2 home runs, one off the top of the scoreboard in right center field, and one over the batting cage building about 70 feet beyond the right field fence is where the building starts. And it's, I don't know, it's at least that deep. He's got skyscraping, unbelievable power. And we've seen that a little bit at the big league level. He's hit some long home runs, but you can't strike out 120 times a year. And in his career now, he's been a big leaguer for a few years. He's obviously battled some injuries, and that stinks. He's averaging basically a strikeout every 3 at bats. And I just don't think that's what the Guardians are looking for right now. I wish him well. I wanted him to work out in Cleveland for sure. It just didn't seem to be there consistently enough. And so he's been sent to Toronto. And in return, the Guardians have brought in a right-handed pitcher named Anthony Castro, who is a 26-year-old kid from Venezuela. Hasn't spent a ton of time at the big league level yet, mostly in the minors, but he broke camp with Toronto and AAA Buffalo. I think it's kind of a little bit of a gamble, maybe a little bit of unknown about him. Looking forward to learning more about what the Guardians like in him. Just to give you some overall data on him, he's 6'2", 180 pounds. He made his major league debut in the 2020 season with Detroit, and then only pitched in that one game, and then was traded to Toronto. He pitched 25 times for Toronto. His numbers were not particularly good. I think from what I've been able to ascertain, he seems to have pretty good raw stuff, but his command hasn't been great. For the most part, most Guardians pitchers in their minor league system that have a fighting chance of getting to the big leagues don't seem to have command issues. So perhaps bringing him into the organization where they've had a lot of success developing pitching, perhaps this can be the kind of guy that, can be a good bullpen arm. He's going to be added to the major league roster. He'll be in Kansas City on Saturday, from what we understand. I don't know when he'll pitch, but I would expect that he'll pitch at some point here, probably in this series. If they're adding him to the major league roster, it's because they want to see what he's got and give him a chance to go out and compete here early on. Not to mention, I think the Guardians need a little bit of bullpen help. The fact that you can break camp with 28 players on your roster, 14 of whom are pitchers, I feel like this could be, the kind of deal that opens the door for outfield prospects the Guardians want to give time to right now, like Stephen Kwan in particular. Josh Naylor is going to be coming back soon from injury. Pretty good chance he's going to get regular playing time once he's ready. And then who knows? I don't know when the George Valeras of the world may come up, and certainly some others. But it seems like Stephen Kwan right now, front and center, has the attention of the coaching staff, and I would think he may see some regular time. So even though they told him up front, you may not. Toronto wanted Zimmer. Guardians were willing to unload him, and we'll see what the fallout is from that. But Bradley Zimmer, certainly wish him well. Wish it would have worked here. I think he's got some good ability, but the contact rate was a bit too frustrating. So that kind of wraps up the Zimmer news. And look, again, an off day today for the Guardians. I think it's always a little bit odd when you have an off day this early in the season, but you also played 3 weeks basically without an off day in Goodyear. And it's not the same grind in spring training as it is early in the year, but a chance for everybody to kind of catch their breath, all the emotions and adrenaline from opening day, settle down a little bit, and now you strap in and you're ready to go. So five games in 5 days, 3 in Kansas City, 2 in Cincinnati. Tomorrow, the pitching matchup features Zach Plesac for the Cleveland Guardians, and he will go against, so make sure I get this right, Brad Keller Keller will throw for Kansas City. Be great to see Plesac back out there. I know last year he had about a month where he missed some action. Hoping he gets off to a better start. I think last April, Zach didn't pitch great. But then right before he got hurt, that month of May, I thought he looked really good. And he closed the year okay. So, another guy that, he's incredibly athletic and somebody the Guardians are going to lean pretty heavily on. And he'll get the ball in the second game of the year. You can watch the game on Bally Sports Great Lakes. You can listen live on WTAM 1100 or WMMS 100.7 if you're in Northeast Ohio. Of course, you can stream the games on MLB TV if you're out of market, and the MLB at Bat app has free audio available as well. We'll have you covered as best we can here on Cleveland Baseball Insider over on the website, clevelandbaseballinsider.com. And then, of course, on our social media channels, CBI on SI. Please, we would really appreciate it if you subscribe to the YouTube channel and help support the channel as we try to grow it here and give you the best coverage we can as the Guardians get going this season. Again, I'm Brendan Gulick for Cleveland Baseball Insider. We'll see you tomorrow. Cleveland and Kansas City back at it for Game 2.